nevertheless have heard of this verse, which is verse 200 of Surah Al-Imran. The verse is, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, isbiru wa sabiru. O you who have believed, have patience and help each other with patience. Warabitu, and establish connection. Wattaqullah la'allakum tuflihun. Have fear of God so that you may have everlasting happiness. The discussion is these three things, and the last that has taqwa as well, so four things. To have isbiru, have patience. Wasabiru, translated as help each other with patience. Now would say maybe what is the difference between isbiru and sabiru, but first two steps are patience. The third step is connection, rabitu, connection with what? We'll look in the hadith inshallah. Fourth, to have taqwa, then Quran says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Who can tell me here why Quran says لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ? لَعَلَّ in Arabic, the translator of Quran didn't translate it this way. But لَعَلَّ in Quran means perhaps. You know, it is, or maybe. لَعَلَّ. لَعَلَّ means maybe, perhaps. What does Quran say? لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So that you can reach everlasting happiness. Why not, you know, why perhaps you can reach everlasting happiness? Why not just reach without la'alla, just tuflihun? Why does Quran mention la'alla? One explanation that I saw in one of the mufassirin and commentators of the Holy Quran was that la'alla is showing us the fact that this should actually even be translated as perhaps. And whatever you see la'alla in the Quran is perhaps. It is because these things have other conditions. Every action for it to be, for example, accepted has shara'it, has conditions. Some of the a'mal, it mentions your beliefs. You have to have the right beliefs for it to be effective. Some of the other traditions say, for example, you have to have taqwa. You have to have niyyah. You have to have ikhlas, sincerity. You have so many other conditions. When all of those conditions will be fulfilled, then that will happen. Then, you know, you'll be of the tuflahun, or you'll be of those that have everlasting happiness. It's not as if you do one or two or three things from which is mentioned. The Quran is actually being daqiq, we understand here, being precise, and saying that it is not only, so if a person says, oh, I did these four things, then how come I didn't reach, you know, happiness? Well, there's other things, conditions. These are some of them. This is some of them, but not all of them. So the verse we're going to mention tonight is isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu. There's a hadith in Ghaybatun Nu'mani, old book. It talks about, actually there's many narrations when it comes to this verse 200 Al-Imran. The narration from Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, Isbiru ala ada' al-fara'id. The Imam opens up what isbiru, having patience, means here. Means have patience when you are performing the fara'id. Now, I'm not going to get into exactly what is farida, what's not. There's ikhtilaf. But you can see fara'id can be understood and generally as what is wajib. What is wajib in the Quran, or what Allah has made wajib. Okay? So our salat, our zakat, our khums, our sawm are of the fara'id. So have patience when it comes to performing your wajibat. When it comes to performing your salat, do you need patience? Do you need endurance? Yes. We said this, one of our marhum lecturers passed away, Sayyid Asad Jafri used to say that Hajj, with all its difficulty, Hajj is hard, especially in the summertime, especially as it's getting crowded, is hard. Hajj is hard. It's not easy. But he says that compared to Salat, for example, Hajj is easy. It's easy because you do it once. It's only wajib to do Hajj once. You do it once, you're done. The rest of your life, you can enjoy the Hajj wherever you want to go, you can go, for example. But Salat is not like this. Salat, sometimes you'll be in a meeting. Sometimes you'll be in the airplane. Sometimes you'll be in school. Sometimes you'll be sleepy. Sometimes you'll be lazy. Sometimes you'll be in the middle of sports, right? And to have this done, 5 times a day, this is hard. This is difficult. I was at a meeting with the reverts, and we were discussing this, Salat, today. And I was mentioning to them, to make yourself habitual, to make Salat a habit for yourself, that's the hard part. Once it becomes a habit, it becomes easier. Once, for example, a child, we have traditions to teach them Salat at the age of 7. When you teach them Salat slowly and so they start praying, when they reach taklif, when it is wajib upon them, then it's easier for them than when they do not have Salat done as a habit. And if you really think of it, what is one of the main causes of people not to pray in the Muslim world? The discussion we had today was this revert was trying to encourage other Muslims to pray all the time. So I said, well, tell them you have to establish prayers. Quran says establish yuqimuna salat, not you pray one day, you pray like even days, you don't pray odd days. For example, it means you pray every day, when you're not excused. So what does it mean? How can you tell such a person? You tell them that you have to establish salat. 2, you tell them that Salat has that benefit of fighting against your lower desires, which is related to sabr, our topic tonight. When you want to do whatever you want to do, you become lazy. And if you ask why most people that do not perform Salat, is it they don't believe in God? They don't believe that God shouldn't be worshipped? Or is it that they're lazy? Is it that it's hard for them? Is it because they're unorganized? So being patient with Salat means that you put away everything else in your life. You make Salat your priority, your fara'id priority. And yes, sometimes it will be difficult. Sometimes Allah will test you. Sometimes even getting wudu, that water will be very cold, for example. Very cold, you don't feel like it. But it builds you. It makes you stronger. And you keep doing that for a while, you'll get results. And a person that prayed 5 times a day, no matter what, is different than a person that prayed on and off. That person that established Salat no matter where they are. And this is when if you want to test people, take them on a journey and see how they are with their Salat. It's easy to come to the masjid and pray Salat, or come to Yasin and Salat. But then when you're tested, when they're with the non-Muslim, when they're on vacation, when they're with their friends, Salat, then if they pray Salat, then know that they're of the Sabirin. They have patience when it comes, because it takes 40 years, 70 years of doing Salat all the time. You become a patient person. You have endurance. The second type of sabr here in the tradition. So the tradition has isbiru ala ada al-fara'id. Imam Baqir alayhi salam mentions, have patience, have endurance when it comes to doing your wajibat. وَصَابِرُوا عَدُوَّكُمْ, and have endurance and patience when it comes to your enemies. Those enemies that want to devastate you, annihilate you. They do not want to have mercy. Have patience when you're dealing with them. وَرَابِطُوا إِمَامَكُمْ الْمُنْتَظَرِ, and have connection. We said rabitu, the third. To have connection with your Imam, that he is al-muntadhar. So al-muntadhar, that he is being awaited for. So some look at this and connect it. If you want the Imam of the age to connect to him, if you want the Imam of the age to come back, then you must be patient. You must be patient when it comes to your fara'id and committing your duty. You must be patient against the enemy. Against the enemy. You have to be patient. Some people, they have this false ideology in their minds that if I become Muslim, or if our communities become Muslim or Islamic countries, Then we're going to receive bounties from the heaven. We're going to become super rich. We're going to have a very easy life. We won't be tested. Some people, they think this, that when a Nabi or Prophet or Imam comes, necessarily that everything has to become like heaven on earth. There will be no more trials and tribulations. This is far from the truth. Look at the life of the final and seal of messengers, Rasulullah. His life was filled with challenges. The first 13 years in Mecca, what would happen? Maybe, and these were rumors that people were saying that, oh, you are Rasulullah, then why are we suffering so much? That's what the enemy was saying. Now that Rasulullah has come, we expected everything to become beautiful and great and for us not to be poor at all and to be fed and to be secure. But what happened in the first years in Mecca, the 13 years? Muslims were tortured to death. You heard of Ammar ibn Yasir. Ammar was a great companion, one of the first to believe in Rasulullah. What happened to his parents? His parents died from torture. They were killed. They were tortured. He himself mentions that they put so much they tortured him so much that he comes to Rasulullah, and one of the sayings or history is that I was forced basically to reject my beliefs. They were torturing me so much. For example, I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in one God. I left. And Rasulullah mentions and asks him, in your heart, did you believe? Yes, in my heart I believed. I just wanted them to stop injuring me, harming me, torturing me. So then Rasulullah mentions one of the verses of Quran, says it's for you. This is one of the verses. And what you did is right. It's actually an instance of taqiyya because his life was in danger. Why would I put my life in danger just so, for me not to say something that I don't even believe? So we see the examples of Ammar, who his parents from the beginning were tortured. And you see, actually his life, he continues with Imam Ali. He doesn't do bay'at to the new government. Continues with Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam until the Battle of Siffin. And what age was Ammar when he becomes shaheed in Battle of Siffin? Who can guess? Who's good at math? He was actually 90 something years old. One of the companions, a 90-year-old fighting. It's not just a 90-year-old being present there. A 90-year-old fighting and being shaheed. That is the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam that he had, Ammar. So the first case, sabiru, isbiru, have patience, sabiru. It means that when a Rasul, a Prophet comes, the beginning of the test will start. Because when your goals and aspirations are the biggest, that is when the most challenges and the most amount of patience you will need. Because the outcome and the goal is high. For us to reach very important things in life, in dreams and aspirations we have to have more patience. To do something small doesn't need much patience. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to do? We as a community, as followers of Ali Muhammad, are trying to prepare the grounds for the Imam to return. This is our goal in our life. Is this an important goal? Very important. It means the entire world will come under the banner of Tawheed. Do you think for such a goal, we will need lots of patience? So we said the higher the goal, the bigger the goal, the more patience you'll need, and the more great that victory will be. So we have to understand, like the life of Rasulullah, when we are trying to have this fulfill this very important goal in our lives, we see that Rasulullah in the same way. Second part you see in his life, sanctions. That people had to, for 3 years, could not eat. We're in sanctions. Sometimes they're under sanctions for 3 years. Sometimes they had to split a date. Then it comes to the battles after Rasulullah loses his wife and loses Abu Talib, and that year is Amul Huzn, and they try to assassinate Rasulullah. So you see all these trials. He goes to Medina. In Medina, was everything perfect in Medina? How many battles happened Islamically? Ghazwa and Sariya, how many were there? Saraya and Ghazawat. Do you know the difference between these two? The ones that the Prophet participated was a Ghazwa. The ones that he doesn't was a Sariya. So how many of these would existed? Small or big battles? How many in 10 years? 80. Around 80. 80 a year. If you average it out. 80 battles that Rasulullah had in Medina. That's after 13 years of sanctions. 13 years of then hijrah, migration to Ethiopia, just so they can survive. And after all the, rumors and false attributions they gave to Rasulullah, he was challenged. In the same way, brothers and sisters, when we look at our time period today, when we are fighting against injustice, when we are trying to help, globally the Muslims are trying to help our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and we see so much, for example, devastation, we come to the conclusion that we have to have patience because our goals and aspirations are high. We're doing this to fulfill our ada'ul fara'id. We're trying to do our wajibat to help them however we can. In the US, we have, we go to demonstrations, we boycott, we cause awareness, whatever we can, on campuses, whatever we can to help the mazlumeen, help the oppressed. But the entire point of all of this is that there will be two groups, like the Battle of Uhud that happened. There will be two groups. There will be a group that will say, I wish, the Quran mentions too, I wish that, if we never went to the Battle of Uhud, maybe we'd be alive, for example. The Quran answers to them that, even if you're in your beds, death will come to you. What is the difference? At least when you go for the Battle of Uhud, in this battle, you'll become someone who's fulfilled his obligations. Death comes to both, either in the bed or not. It doesn't matter because we look at this world as a transient life, a temporary life. So when we see what is happening, we have to always relate it to the time of Rasulullah. We have to look at verses of Quran that mention that Imam al-Zaman will come, Ajala ta'ala farajahu sharif. We connect it with these. Isbiru ala ada al-fara'id, wasabiru aduwakum, warabitu imamakum al-muntadhar. So have patience upon your duties, on your wajibat, your fara'id. Have patience upon the enemy, and have patience, and therefore after that, then you can connect to Imam al-Zaman. So having patience and fulfilling our duties is connected to Imam al-Zaman. Brothers and sisters, what is happening recently is nothing new. You can search it, there is a doctrine called the Dahiya doctrine. Dahiya, for those that are not Lebanese, they know where the area is. It is an area south of Beirut, southern Beirut, or south of Beirut, southern Beirut. And this is an area where a lot of the followers of Ali Muhammad are there. And in 2006, they began to devastate these areas and completely bombard them, hitting infrastructure, hitting schools, hitting things that didn't have anything to do with military sites. And from this, those in the Zionist army called it the Dahiya doctrine, for it to be followed in other places. You can search it and research it. It's called Dahiya doctrine. It's an area in Beirut. Meaning that if you hit civilian infrastructure, if you kill civilians, you will cause, the theory is, you will cause them to go against the militants. You'll break their backs, and they won't resist anymore. The problem with this doctrine, one is that it is illegal. It's against world, international law to attack civilians. Two, it is not effective because when you hit the civilians will be upset and they will come and they'll join the militants. This is just what is mentioned. So what we see, a continuation of this doctrine in Gaza. Gaza in 2023, the bombardment and devastation is just another example of the Dahiya doctrine. That you don't look for necessarily the militants, you say you do, but you break the infrastructure. Every hospital, maybe there's right now in Gaza, or at least northern Gaza, maybe there's only one hospital operating right now. And that is, right now, they're saying that is endangered, that is in threat. Maybe one or two. Or in northern Gaza, they're saying there's one bakery, for example, right now. And that is in threat. So you see, to break and to destroy, these are things that we have to realize as a community. And as we get closer to the end of times, I'm not saying that we are at the end of times, but the traditions depict for us a very devastating, horrible end of times, that the only thing we can do is be patient. We have to increase our endurance. I'm going to read for you some of the traditions. Abu Hamza Thamali narrated from Imam Baqa alayhi salam, "O Abu Hamza, that the Imam Mahdi, I'm changing the world, will not rise up unless at that time when fear and dread would intensify." This is one of the traditions. We have a lot, Shia and Sunni. We have the traditions from what will occur. Generally, we have this concept that the world will be full of injustice. Then when the Imam comes, it'll be full of justice. So here in this tradition, Imam Baqa alayhi salam in the book of Ghaiba, Shaykh Tusi, says that at the end of time, unless a time will come when fear and dread would intensify, calamities and seditions would prevail, and affliction and misfortune would befall the people. Then he continues, alayhi salam, and the condition of the people would change to such an extent that every wisher, when he sees the brutality of the people and their violation of the rights of each other, will wish for death every day and every night. This is from the traditions we have went from Imam Baqa alayhi salam, from Shaykh Tusi, about 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago. At the end of times, devastation, annihilation, dhulm, oppression will occur so harshly that those that remain on this earth will pray that God take me. Some of the other traditions say that some will sail out to sea just to be separate from this devastation. Again, I'm not saying this is the time period. I'm just saying that that connection between sabr, patience and endurance and resilience, and with the coming of the Imam and connecting to Imam Zaman. Or we have the other tradition from Imam Rada alayhi salam, before the advent of the Imam of time, successive and relentless killings will take place. So for us to, again, to be prepared and for us to connect to the Imam appropriately. And I always encourage everyone when, during such difficult times, during bala, to remember Imam Zaman, to cry to Imam Zaman, to pray to Imam Zaman. Because this is a very fundamental part of our beliefs. Not only do we have the foundation that Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Ashura teaches us patience, teaches us that eventually the blood will outweigh everything. And the message of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam has been alive for 1400 years. But the other foundation of Mahdawiyyat, of believing and having hope with the reappearance of the Imam of the age, is another important aspect in foundations of Shias. One, we're learning patience and we're learning from the lessons of Ashura. The other, we are having hope. We're having hope in Imam Zaman. Remember, have patience, but Rabba to also connect to Imam, because Mahdawiyyat is nothing but hope. Mahdism is nothing but hope. What is patience? One of the definitions that Mullah Naraqi, a teacher of ethics, brings for patience is, patience, sabr by itself, the definition means habs, means to confine, to limit. And he says that patience or sabr means that when you take your aql in the shar, your mind in the legislation, it takes and holds the nafs and confines the desires to whatever should be done. That is called sabr. So what is sabr? Confining the nafs, the desires, to what is logical, what is intellectual, what is logical, rational, and to what Allah wants. This is nafs. This is sabr. What is the opposite of sabr? If a person lets go and does whatever they want, they have not confined their lower desires, they have not confined their lust, they have not confined their anger, therefore they have lost patience. So sabr means this. Quran mentions very clearly to us that we will be tested. وَلِنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. And we will surely test you with something of fear, hunger, and loss, and wealth, and lives and fruits. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. But give good tidings to those that have patience. So from this verse and other verses that we see throughout the Quran, the only way for us to be in the path of piety and taqwa is the path of patience and endurance. We said there's other patience. Imam Ali alayhi salam divides it into patience of ta'ah, of obedience, patience against ma'asiyah, sin, patience of musibat, patience against calamity. But regardless, all of these are related in this way, that you're confining yourself, you're holding yourself back, and you're enduring. Once you do this, you become the strongest of people. And we see the greatest of our leaders, the greatest of our scholars, this quality that they all shared throughout the history was that they had that ability to hold, endure a lot. They had lots and lots and lots of patience. Sometimes people are telling them, what are you doing, for example? Or maybe even against their own family might be asking them, what are you doing? But once they know what is right, and they know that they have to perform their duties, they confine their nafs, they confine their inner self and their lower desires in a way that they submit completely to what Allah wants. And that is what we have to do, inshallah, during this time period and during all time periods of ghaibat, of occultation, is to have patience. And so therefore, this is, just to wrap it up, Surah Al Imran, verse 200. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu sbiru, have patience, O you have believed. Wasabiru, help each other with patience. Or we have, in the tradition, isbiru ala al-fara'id, sabiru ala aduwakum, against your enemy. Warabitu, and have connection to the Imam of the age according to the tradition. Wattaqullah la'allakum tuflahun, so that perhaps you may be of those who has everlasting happiness. May inshallah, Allah make clear for us our duties during the time of occultation, inshallah. May Allah never separate us from Imam al-Zaman. May Allah give peace and patience, inshallah, to all of the believers, especially in Lebanon, especially in Palestine, throughout the entire world. May Allah have rahmah of our marhumeen, those that have passed away from our family, our friends. May Allah give shafa and cure to all of those that are sick. May Allah expedite the return of the Imam of the age. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.